But it was all people that I had either met in passing or I had read a lot about or I knew their work. And it was just so exciting to be in that room with them. So, for example, Jack Thorpe, who set up the whole SimNet thing back in the day, and I sat right next to him. And he gave me this beautiful blueprint of a history of simulation, which I hung up at ICT behind a $1,000 UV protected piece of plexiglass. There were two things that we did in advance of coming to the workshop. One was write position papers. So they had us write these position papers, which you might see in that book, Modeling and Simulation. I did two, because I did one from sort of the entertainment perspective, but also the commonalities that entertainment and the military had. So I had the two papers. Most everybody else had one paper. But just the people that were there, and cool entertainment people, game people, military people. Ed Catmull, as I said, he got up and gave this really wonderful talk that was about his early days at Utah. So the work that he did, which started the entire computer animation industry, happened because DARPA paid these students to just play and experiment and have wild and crazy ideas. And they had the funding, but they weren't having to meet deliverables at any particular point. And Ed's point at this workshop was, if you're thinking of doing anything, make it like that. And I said, just as Ed said at the beginning, you need to fund wild and crazy ideas. So I had a few examples that I spoke of, but that's what we were really hoping to come out of that workshop, was that kind of freedom that researchers had in those early days that birthed an entire industry that nobody knew was coming. Richard brought me in and he said, what do you want to work on? And I said, well, if I'm going to be a researcher, I want to work on moving the needle on how VR can affect us. You know, right now we all know it's like a game, and I want it to really, really affect the human being, the human body, the human mind. And so he let me run with that for a few years. So we did this grand opening, and one of the demos for the grand opening was the virtual human work that John Gratch and David Traum and Bill Swartout was doing. And the scene was, we had this curved screen, and Richard wanted us to bring in the shell of a Humvee in that theater. And we talked him out of that. We said, look, Richard, we can do this with VR. You'll see the front of the Humvee. It'll be fine. But he really wanted that physical Humvee, because he was, from the entertainment industry, props, and that's how Flat World got started. But so the guys are working on the virtual human. I was helping animate a lot of the people in there and stuff like that. And I said, really, we should have this thing smell like what it should smell like. There's so many things we could do. And so I bought two of these scent release things that were available at the time. They were like big towers, like these PC towers. And they had one big filter, like your shop vac filter, that you put in there, and it had the scent in there. And all you could do was say, on 10 seconds off, 10 seconds off, 60 seconds. You could vary the time it was on and the time it was off. I did it because I was firmly supportive of having different senses into these simulations to help us feel that they were really real. So we called it Feels Real. And that's what I thought we could do with infrasound. So infrasound, as the floor was created, was to the specs of 4 to 20 hertz. You cannot hear it. You can only feel it. These are the waves of earthquakes and thunderstorms. That's why your pets feel it before you, because these waves are miles long. It's not like your little frequency waves like that. But it's really hard to reproduce those. So the closest that was around at the time were these butt kickers, so low-frequency subwoofers for audio stuff. But we did get great results. When we did the C project, our subjects had physiological monitors on them, so we could see what the heart rate and, other aspects were doing. And you could play back the entire session of a participant, and you could see the sensory, the physiological sensors. You could see what they were doing. If we put a startle mechanism, and you could actually see it. And every place we use things like the scent collar, like the floor, like standard psychological tricks, we got the results we wanted. One of the great things about avatars is that you can present yourself in an anonymous way. So there's a lot of safety there. And this was important for the veterans coming home, because if they revealed that they had any weaknesses, it might affect their career. It might make them feel less about themselves. So it was great that we could give them a way to be somewhere with other people, getting help, or just having a social network. And they didn't have to reveal themselves. Some of them came into these projects with voice changes. So we did a couple of things with Coming Home. And Coming Home, we built a whole center where the veterans could hang. And we had a veterans group this was in the Virtual World Second Life. We had the veterans group come and check it out. So that was a great project. We did a few other interesting things on that Second Life land. We did have AI characters. I took everything that the AI group was doing, and I put it into Second Life avatars. Nobody was doing that at the time. They had little chatbots, but they didn't have the ones that were as intelligent as the ones we had. So we had some other healing places in this Second Life land. So we had a labyrinth that they could walk. We built them an AI character that was the guard for the tomb of the unknown soldier. So they put the unknown soldier tomb in the middle of their space, and we had the AI agent walk 24/7, 24/7. And, we animated, so he did everything correctly. But we did that for them. And so that made us, okay in their eyes.